Good afternoon to everyone and welcome to the April 29 Engage for ESG webinar. We will get started in a couple of minutes, so bear with us a moment, and then we will go through the detailed presentation at 15:02. Thank you. Perfect. I think it's time to start. So my name is Marco Angeben. I head business development and regulatory affairs at European Data Warehouse. I'm the project manager for the Engage for the ESG initiative. And I'm delighted to have three colleagues today that are going to provide different updates in terms of the status of the initiative. So starting from my right, we are going to have Maitane Puente Gonzalez providing an update from a regulatory perspective. Then Gianluca Ginelli, also from European Data Warehouse, is going to provide an update in terms of the development of the templates. So what's next in terms of the Engage for ESG templates, specifically for the renovation part, which is probably one of the most challenging. And last but not least, we have also a partner from Hyperport, Juice, and he's going to be focusing on actually the second main pillar of the whole initiative, and this is the Engage portal, because not only we released the portal on the 27th of March, but Juice is going to tell us what are the new releases, the new features that are going to make easier for all the testers and the pilots that are interested to look into the EU taxonomy alignment or their portfolios or their securitizations or their cover bond programs for resi mortgages and consumer loans. So let's go next in terms of the agenda of today. So we have a quite a packed agenda. In terms of the regulatory update, Maitane will go through the various specific developments in terms of the report on the EU platform on sustainable finance. There is also a very important report from the European Banking Authority on data for ESG exposures, as well as a very important consultation that ended at the end of March from ESMA in terms of the simplification of the reporting for private ABS transactions. And this is aimed actually at streamlining at European level the reporting for private deals that are currently booming in the ABS securitization market. Last but not least, also we'll give a kind of an update in terms of the omnibus simplification process that is currently going on in Brussels in terms of the various initiatives, including the stop the clock. Before then, we are going to move into the true part of the Engage. So the first pillar, Gianluca Ginelli will really focus on the renovation section, what we are doing, what we are proposing in terms of fields, in terms of parts. And last but not least, Jais is going to give us an update in terms of what are the new features that after 1 month of the Engage portal going live, we are currently implementing. Last but not least, then Maitane will conclude explaining the next events, in particular a very successful event that we are planning for the 7th of May in Madrid, thanks to ICO that is hosting the event at its premises in the city center of Madrid, really close also to the Banco de España. where she's going to show also a very interesting agenda. It's all in Spanish. And then we're also going to be talking about the next webinar, which is going to be instead towards the end of the month of May. Clearly a very busy period in terms of, let's say, developments internally and externally. So in terms of the Engage for ESG initiative, this is an initiative that we started on the 1st of November. We are now towards the end of the third year. The initiative will stop on the 31st of October 2025, but we are already planning with various pilots and interested parties really to make sure that this initiative will continue over and beyond the deadline of the European Commission grant. So we have 6 partners that are coming from across Europe. So you can see them on the right. And most importantly, I think I want to spend a couple of minutes in terms of what we are trying to resolve. What is the issue that Engage for ESG is trying really to provide a solution in terms from both a standardization perspective, i.e. we have the templates let's say in alignment with the EU taxonomy regulation, with an industry interpretation of what is aligned, plus the compliance with the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, the fourth recast that is been focusing on the introduction and the harmonization of the reporting of information regarding the buildings. We are particularly focusing on residential buildings. So things like the energy performance certificates, the primary energy demand. My colleague Gianluca will dwell into this much more in the detail, in particular in the part which we find probably the most challenging in terms of the renovations, i.e. how to achieve and to have a EU green mortgage, which needs to be in compliance with the reduction of the primary energy demand of at least 30%. So we will also go through some tools that we have developing and we are planning in terms of in the future that will help financial institutions, banks and lenders on one side, and the buy side, the investors, to control this information. And clearly, last but not least, we want to be in full compliance with the General Data Protection Regulation. Why? Because otherwise we would have problems with the banks. We have actually just at the beginning of this week completely revamped the legal agreement for the additional testers, particularly the systemic banks that are now planning to be part of the Engage for ESG initiative. So there will be a specific communication going out, if not tomorrow, at the beginning of the next week, to explain how we have streamlined the legal agreements in terms of uploading the data in a private area of the website, as Jais will then explain to you more into detail later. So here, this is a high-level description of the initiative. 2 main pillars, as I mentioned. On one side, the disclosure templates for residential real estate data. These are granular. These are loan by loan. And these are to avoid the issue of greenwashing. So this is not auto-certification. This is provision of information to make sure that the information is available, has a certain level of data quality, and there is a specific report that is produced from the portal that you can see at the middle of the screen, in order to have both data quality together as well with the compliance or alignment with the templates as well as the taxonomies. We have two pilots, one for Spain, which actually cover also Portugal, so the Iberian Peninsula, so is Unione de Crédito Inmobiliarios, a very specialized lender with extremely good track record in terms of green RMBS in both countries. On the other side, also NN Bank. Actually, a good point. Please come by the European Data Warehouse booth, because we are going to have representatives from NN Bank that will be able and available to explain the whole process and procedure for the provision of the data as according to their experience. Who are going to be benefiting from this initiative? Well, you can see them at the bottom. Why? Because borrowers should, in theory, get lower interest rates, better terms in terms of the mortgages or the consumer loans, for example, to replace their windows, to install solar panels, so to reduce their energy bills. And on the other side, investors, because there is a lot of confusion on how you interpret the EU taxonomy together with the questions and answers. And so we have really tried to drill down, you will see from the colleagues later, in terms of the minutiae. How do you really interpret some of the fields in the Climate Delegated Act, Article 7.1, 7.2, do not significant harm, etc., etc. So we have really, Gianluca, that will present, spent a couple of years together with Vince and Maiho, also from Hypoport, really to trying to understand in the detail how to translate the regulatory requirements into actionable reporting fields that can be uploaded in a private area of the portal that Jais then will explain into details in terms of the functionalities of the portal itself and the accessibility of the information, i.e. the data quality report, and at the same time the alignment report. But without further ado, the templates. So where we started from? Well, from the ESMA underlying exposures for resi mortgages, Annex 2 and Annex 6 for the consumer. And we have added, this is building block 1, that's what Gianluca will show you later, the part on the acquisition of new buildings and existing buildings. This is relatively easier because, you know, in order to be taxonomy compliant, you need to have an EPC-A or better, or for existing buildings, you need to have certain characteristics. But the real effort lies into the renovation of the existing buildings. I'm particularly mentioning this because particularly the buildings that are in the lowest categories in terms of the EPC, i.e. the brown buildings, i.e. the one with F or G, these are the ones that we are trying to focus on, really to provide funding in order to improve the energy efficiency. Not necessarily at 30%, but in order to, in any case, to make the living standards of the people and to fight energy poverty for this specific purpose. One of the reasons actually I'm here from Luxembourg is because we also had a meeting with the European Investment Bank. We continue the discussions with all the stakeholders in Europe at European level and national level, because we really want to also make use of the best tools that are available there, like the Green Eligibility Checker, in order to capture funds for the green financing programs, for the financing of the renovation of the existing building stock. There is not going to be the renovation wave up until we are not able, particularly in Southern Europe, to provide financing for buildings, residential buildings in particular, that are not energy efficient. Last but not least, from my part, also this very important Hellenic Financial Stability Fund sustainability report, and I need to thank the management of the Hellenic Financial Stability Fund, because they really also advocated the use. This is for the Greek banks. It's a very important market where there are, let's say, a reduced number of lenders. There are a limited number of systemic banks, but it's a very important one because this is where there are a lot of issues related to, for example, the availability of the EPC. And that's a very good country where we think they can set the example because it's one of the countries in Europe that currently, from an economic perspective, is improving more in terms of economic growth. And I think where there is a lot of current momentum in terms of, for example, the digitalization of the process and procedure, for example, in terms of the renovation. And also, please wait for us because we might have representatives from Greece talking at the next webinar. So this report, in a nutshell, really urges the Greek banks to join the initiative to support the increase of the sustainable finance and promote better monitoring and measurements of bank lending portfolios. Ultimately, we are also trying to help for the calculation of the green asset ratio of the various banks that are using the tool. But I stop here, and then now is the turn of my colleague, Maitane Puente Gonzalez. So one moment that we switch.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Marco, for the introduction. As Marco mentioned earlier, we will now look at the four main regulatory updates that happened in the last months, starting with the EU Platform on Sustainability Finance on Sustainable Finance report issued on the 21st March 2025. This report contained recommendations on the review of the criteria and analysis for the Climate Delegated Act, some new activities mandated by the European Commission, new activities mandated by the European Commission but still not completed, and it also included further recommendations for climate change adaptation. Amongst all the recommendations included in the report, some of the especially important ones for the Engage for ESG initiative are the four listed below in the slide. So the usability improvements for the generic climate change adaptation criteria, those affecting the climate change mitigation objective, and the do not significant harm criteria. The second big regulatory piece issued in the last month that we wanted to highlight is the EBA report on data availability for ESG exposures. It also addressed the issue of the methodologies that banks and credit institutions have identified to determine, to map and qualify ESG risks. And they are actually highlighting that most institutions appear to use physical and transition risk indicators based on the physical hazards and the energy performance of buildings. According to the report, these scores based on these indicators aim to help assess the potential impact of climate risk on the credit quality of borrowers and potential losses from mortgage exposures. The evidence collected by the European Banking Authority also pointed out that it is challenging for institutions to compare and aggregate comparable data on environment-related metrics across different jurisdictions. Indeed, making the strong point on the lack of common standards and definitions at European level. In this sense, the Engage for ESG initiative shares this concern with the European Banking Authority, and thus this is, as those who have been following the initiative in the past years know, this has been one of our main points that we have addressed through the Engage templates. On the 13th February 2025, the European Securities and Markets Authority also launched the consultation on revising the disclosure framework for private securitizations under the securitization regulation, which closed on the 31st March 2025. The plan is that based on the feedback received, ESMA publishes a final report and submits the draft technical standards to the European Commission for endorsement by Q2 2025. It is also planned that ESMA coordinates with the European Commission to ensure alignment with the potential level 1 regulation changes. And we wanted to share with you that the Engage Consortium has responded to the ESMA consultation from the ESG information and data availability perspective, and that this response to the consultation has been made available on the Engage website, so you can access this. And finally, we have as the one of the hottest topics in this 2025 is the simplification effort materialized through the Omnibus package. As you know, on the 26th February 2025, the European Commission adopted the first Omnibus package, which is part of the Commission's commitment to reduce administrative burden by 25% for all businesses and 35% for SMEs. You also know that the package included amendments to the CSRD, to the CSDDD, and it was also accompanied by a draft taxonomy delegated act for stakeholders to contribute with comments to it. And we also shared our opinion with the European Commission. Our response is also published on the Engage website, and you can check this. And more recently, in April, we had the Stop the Clock proposal, which will postpone by 2 years the reporting requirements for companies currently in the scope of the CSRD, which were scheduled to report as of 2026 or 2027. With this, I conclude the regulatory update, and I leave the floor to Gianluca, who will dive you in the details of the Engage templates with a focus on the renovation section. Over to you, Gianluca.
Thank you so much, Maitane. Hi, everyone. In this part, we are going to explain to you better the Engage template and show you a couple of examples. Next slide, please. Okay, first of all, we would like to explain to you where everything comes from. So as Marco and Maitani say, the pillar of our initiative, the guidance, let's say, that we use at the beginning and still now, it's the taxonomy regulation, the EU taxonomy regulation. So what is document? It's a documentation that explain how economic activities, if carried in a specific way, how these activities should, let's say, consider more sustainable or have less impact to the environment. In particular, there is one document, the Climate Delegate Act, that explain for each activities all of these details. So you have to imagine that for all our industrial activities, but not only that, there are some criteria. So this is basically the parameter. Then what we have inside we have some article about the home renovation and also construction of new building and existing building. So this is exactly what we focus on. So on the right part of the slide, you see that for each of these activities, the Commission defined or tried to describe this aspect of the activity in a different way. So the substantial contribution criteria, the to no significant harm, and the minimum safeguard. All of these must be respected to classify the activities sustainable. Next slide, please. And this is exactly what we have. So we have one part of our taxonomy that is about the EU Climate Delegate Act, and another part that is about we call like a basic information for the loan. So what does it mean? It means that if we are going to finance the purchase of a home, we are using the ESMA taxonomy for residential. Why? Because this is like a template developed by ESMA, well recognized from the market, and we can use this as a standard. So you have to imagine that if you want to provide the information into the Engage portal, you have to first, let's say, prepare a template that describe your loan position with a minimum amount of fields. We identified more or less 25 data points that I'm definitely sure that if you are a financial institution that deal with rating agency or third party, for sure these are 20, let's say, data points that you have. And then you have to provide a specific part with the, let's call ESG data. And this part contains the information about the Climate Delegate Act plus other data points. Next slide, please. And in a bit more of detail, in this slide, you see that, let's say, our classification. So the RREL and RREC, it's the loan part and the collateral part of your loan. So this 20 data points, this basic information I mentioned before. And then we have another part for the Engage template, and one that we call the governance file that more or less explain on average some characteristic of your pool and how the activities is carried on. Yeah. Next slide, please. And but what's the real added value of this taxonomy? So we try to include in this taxonomy, let's say, all the ESG, or let's say data points that financial market might ask to an issuer. So the advantage is that when you are able to fill out the information required in the Engage template, you have a good, let's say, degree of confidence that you are collecting, let's say, a market standard information for ESG, regarding the ESG aspects. So that's the one advantage. And the second advantage mentioned at the beginning from Marco, it's the fact that after you, let's say, upload the information, we provide you a data report that explain you the alignment of each loan position with the Climate Delegate Act. So you have to imagine an Excel file that tells you the number of position, which position are aligned for which criteria. So it's really a nice overview that can give you an idea about this, let's say, the ESG information, the quality also of the ESG information inside your portfolio, and which of these are aligned with the criteria of the Climate Delegate Act. Next slide, please. And this it's one of the example. So right now you simply see a screenshot, but obviously if you are interested in a specific section, we will go through the Excel file to explain you in much more detail. But you have to imagine that while you download after you have downloaded the taxonomy, you will see one part that we call building block 0 with the loan and collateral information. So in this case, it's the ESMA consumer taxonomy, because here we are looking into the renovation template. And from this slide, you simply see some basic information like the ID of your pool, the loan ID of your position, the cutoff date, and really, as I said before, these are really basic information, but it's really important to provide. Why? Because it gives you a bit of flavor about the characteristic of your portfolio. Like, I don't know, the weighted average life of the loan, or the interest rate. So I think that people from the market immediately understood the concept. But it's really helpful for let's say, sharing a bit of information about the pool. And then in the next slide, you can see the information required. In this particular screenshot, we see the renovation template and the criteria 7.2 about the renovation. So what the Climate Delegate Act says, it simply asks the following. So to align with this criteria, the 7.2, the renovation, or in particular the primary energy demand, so that basically it's the consumption of the building. After the renovation, the primary energy demand must be lower, must be 30% lower than the primary energy demand pre-renovation. So this is the only criteria required for the substantial contribution criteria. So that's also important to say. But it's one of the pillars. So if you have, let's say, an assessment of the primary energy demand pre and post renovation, and you know about the amount that you have financed, you have, let's say, a good confidence. With a good confidence, we can say that your position it's aligned with the criteria of 7.2. But it's not only that, because as you can see at the bottom, there is also finances CO2 emission. And this is the example I was saying before. So this is an information not required by the Climate Delegate Act, but we decided to include because it's a data point that might be useful for better describing the renovation. So what's the exactly the CO2 emission for that. Having said that, I hope that I give to you an idea about the template. And if you have obviously questions, at the end we have all our contacts, and we are happy to have a demo with you. Thanks.
Then I believe that the next part is for me about the Engage portal, a little bit of an explanation, and later on we will also talk about the new features. But indeed, together with the Engage template, it's the second part of the entire exposition on what we are busy with, the Engage portal. This will be the entry where you will be enabled to upload and assess the alignment of your loan portfolio with the EU taxonomy, with the templates that Gianluca talked about, where we will indeed check on loan and on collateral level in order to do the full assessment. We plan on having the programs accessible, or we do have the programs accessible for multiple stakeholders, so people from your company uploading the data, but also from investors or maybe rating agencies that can get access to the results without having any rights to impact any data upload or seeing any data, in only seeing the results to what the percentage might be aligned. Of course, also multiple portfolios can be part of the portal. It's all in good consult on what fits your needs best. And as Marco already hinted said in the beginning, the portal output is twofold. First, you will look inside the data and see if there's any relationships that might be troublesome or that might be illogical following our definitions, which will be then put into the data quality feedback file. But more interesting, in my opinion, the EU taxonomy alignment report, where you get a neat overview on what percentage aligns to the several parts of the EU taxonomy. And on the screenshot, you can see the landing page with multiple programs with, of course, some of the current consortium partners. Next slide, please. Yeah, a little idea on how that data quality report then looks like. There's a rule description and a number of fields, with then ultimately also some examples based on your uploaded file to give a way in looking into those issues. With, for example, indeed, issues like prime energy demand, a PED of the building equal to ND5, where nearly zero energy building ends a threshold is populated, which shows some kind of inconsistency that we do not expect. Also, for example, the construction year, the AREC 5 earlier than or equal to 1/1900, which can of course be the case, but sometimes also relates to a default value in some systems and many others. This is just an example of a couple of checks. This is not the full set of the data quality report checks. Then next slide, please. And this is indeed an overview of the empty EU taxonomy alignment report, where you can see, if you look really close, the different building blocks of the EU taxonomy with the 7.1 until 7.7, with the separate parts, and also the different categories with the do not significant harm, the SEC, the TSC, in order to provide a full overview on the EU taxonomy, how your portfolio relates to it. These will become available after you've uploaded your files via a button on the portal which states download report, which will then be downloading a zip file which contains both Excel files, because both of the data quality checks and also the EU taxonomy alignment report are Excel files. Next slide, please. And then indeed the gate to the Engage portal. And then I would suggest to use the button with the login request in order to ask for access to the portal to start the journey. Then the Engage portal, the upcoming features. So there's a couple of items that we want and we are going to implement in the upcoming months. The first one is notifications for non-uploaders, because currently, let's say that I upload a set with the cutoff of March, then also I will only get an email notification that the analysis is done and that the report is ready. However, it might of course be the case that I work in a team of multiple people, or that certain investors want to subscribe to certain portfolios in which they would like to get informed as soon as a new report for that portfolio is made. So that makes it then easier to get informed about what is going on and what people are working on or what is published. So that is something we want to do, or that we're going to do. Then, of course, Gianluca talked already about version 1 to the renovations. If we have a new template, then also the portal should be compliant with it, and it should work together. So that's also something we're working on in order to facilitate this new version. And next to that, also an ability to upload the draft files, to just make sure that you do not immediately check your file to all of the rules that are part of this portal and the checking and also the EU taxonomy, but you can use it as a safe repository for in-process files to maybe share a draft, some first ideas also to discuss with us, maybe with so we can help or debug, give advice on certain fields or certain fillings. But then just ensuring that the checks are not yet used in order to check for, because it's a draft upload. Next slide, please. What's next? I think you can give it back to Maitan.
Thank you very much, Hikes. So indeed, we are now going to look, after having seen how the portal works, we're going to see why credit institutions should join the portal, and how they can do it. So which are the benefits of becoming a trial user via the Engage portal? Well, first of all, we are implementing standardized templates for compliance with the EU taxonomy, which simplifies the reporting process of credit institutions, because they might be facing multiple inconsistent questionnaires with different data points, and these templates can help in their harmonization and standardization process. The templates have been developed following an industry standard, which is, as Marco mentioned before, the ESMA underlying exposures for templates for the Annex 2 and 6 of the securitization regulation. These are valid for mortgage portfolios, RMBS transactions, and covered bonds, so they are transaction agnostic. They are to be uploaded in a user-friendly format, which is a CSV. They include examples of information that needs to be reported. So when we are making the templates available to you, we are sharing also some sample files that will serve you to see how the templates need to be completed. And we are also sharing a guiding documentation which explains all the specifics of the templates, including the no data options, possible format details that might need a bit more of attention. So it is really a blueprint for the EU taxonomy reporting obligations. At the moment, version 1.1 is available through the link that is included in this slide. We have this link also available on our website. So if you browse the Engage website, you will find it. Already 70 institutions have requested access to the templates. The Engage team is available for clarifications and doubts on the interpretation of the templates, on how this needs to be completed anytime. Then, if you decide to subscribe to the Engage portal, we will ask you to sign a standard legal arrangement, and you will be able to submit the Engage files various times, as much as you need, in order to enrich the information and to get the completed file as you are happy with it. And for each sample file submission, we will generate 2 reports, as Hikes explained, a data quality report and an EU taxonomy alignment report. And last but not least, we would like to invite you to the upcoming events that we are hosting, both in person and online. In terms of the in-person events, the scheduled one and the closest already one is next week on the 7th May in Madrid. The event will be held in Spanish. It is especially addressed to Spanish credit institutions, as well as to investment companies, to credit rating agencies, supervisory authorities. Anyone interested in the ESG reporting, ESG transparency should be there. You can register now clicking on this link. And at the end of May, on the 27th May, we are having the next ESG webinar, where we will share any updates in the development of this version 1.2 of the templates and the IT features that we are in the process of implementing, as Hikes explained. For any questions, we are at your disposal. You can contact us in the email address that you see on the slides. Thank you very much for your attendance, and we look forward to meeting you soon. Thank you very much.